to live as children of God, living by the Christian teaching, gospel principles, and to become disciples of Christ. Today's world, many of us live a life as a Christian and we call themselves as Catholics. But when we look deeper into our life, many a time, we don't have the complete dedication which is expected of us as Christians. That we will see from the different readings given today. The first reading from the Deuteronomy, where Moses was instructing those people, the chosen people of God. They had their bitter experience in the desert in Egypt, and now they are coming back to a place with milk and honey. So before reaching the place, Moses was telling them, the instructions were given to you by the Lord, the precepts were given to you, and the commandments were given to you to observe. And if you don't observe, the consequence is hers. And if you observe the commandments of God, we will have the blessing of God. That is something very serious, not only of the olden time, of the Old Testament time. It is applicable in our own time, in this 21st century, where sometimes we forget the merciful God, the compassionate God, and the forgiving God, who has gifted us with so many things. And we go a little far away from God. So that is completely applicable to any one of us to base our foundation on God. And when we come to the second reading from the letter of Paul to the Romans, St. Paul was instructing the Romans and telling them, what Jesus has done is more than enough for them. Those people, the Romans, they believed, especially those who became Christians from Judaism, they said, the other people also will have to go through the same process of their life. And the Gentile Christians who became Christians, they did not have to go through. That is what St. Paul is saying. It is more than enough that Jesus is the fulfillment of the law. So they don't have to go back to the Mosaic law to observe all the legalities of the law, but Jesus has sanctified our life. He has given completely His life for our sake. So we are redeemed. And when we come to the gospel passage, that is about Jesus was saying that people who live as Christians, they have to dedicate completely their life in God, their foundation on God. We all know about Taj Mahal, one of the monuments in India. It took something like 13 years to build. We know the pyramids of Egypt, it took something like 76 years to build. And the Temple of Solomon, it took something like 7.5 years to build. All those buildings are meant to last for a long period of time. Durability was the most important thing. That is the way they were made. Even today they are standing because of the foundation on which they were built. It is the same thing Jesus is speaking about our life. We have to build our foundation of Christian life on Christian principles, Christian values, gospel values. Here, in this passage, Jesus was saying, you may call me Lord, Lord, but I will say, I do not know you, where you are from. Because you don't live up to the ideals. The priests of the time or the religious of the time of Jesus, they were not leading good life. They were a kind of land. So it is not applicable to the Christians. He was summoning the Christians and telling them, you have to have a commitment in living as a Christian, basing our foundation on God. So let us build our foundation, our families, our communities, and our nation on Christ. He is our model. He is the rock on which we are built. So today we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of the priesthood of our beloved pastor, Father Cyriac. And he is a man who built his foundation on solid rock. And he became a priest. And he dedicates his life for the community of people. So, completely surrendered himself to God and to live for God. Today when I came here, I have been here several times, but I have never said Mass here. So today when I came here, I remember the story of the young donkey who was carrying Jesus on Palm Sunday. The young donkey on which Jesus was riding. And on the next day, and when Jesus was riding through the streets, people were singing Hosanna and Hosanna. The young donkey thought that everything was because of his presence, because he was riding through the street. He told this story to the mother donkey. So the mother donkey said, no, not because of you, because of the person who was riding on your back. That was Jesus. It is exactly the same way I felt when I came. I thought all these celebrations maybe because of my presence here, but I realized it is all because of our beloved pastor, Father Cyriac. Father Cyriac was born in India on March 3, 1945, to his beloved parents Alex and Mary. He is one of the 9 children, 5 brothers and 4 sisters. And 3 of his sisters became nuns and dedicated their life especially for the church. And one of his sisters was married, and the other siblings married, and they are leading wonderful life, witnessing to Christ in their life. Father Cyriac, after his high school education and college education, he just wanted to become a priest. So he joined the Archdiocesan Seminary in India, following the footsteps of his maternal uncle, Father Matthew. And after 10 years of studies, Father Cyriac was ordained on March 30, 1971. After serving something like 7 years in his own archdiocese in India, he came to the United States on 1978. For the past 33 years, Father Cyriac has been working in different parishes, in different capacities, like chaplain in a hospital, associate pastor, and now as your pastor here for the last 5 years, I suppose. I know this wonderful person for so many years. The reason is that we all joined together in the seminary. I am 1 year ahead of him. That is the only difference. So, when we speak about the priesthood, the model priesthood which we see in the Old Testament is the priesthood of Melchizedek, the priest of Salem, and he is the high priest. In the Old Testament, priests offered sacrifices for their own sins and the sins of their people. But in the New Testament time came, Jesus instituted the sacrament of the priesthood on Holy Thursday. So these priests are supposed to offer the sacrifice for the people and for themselves. So this priest